Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, one of the cradles of basketball. In Maryland is John, my good friend and esteemed colleague, John Webster. And John, I'm going to let you right now introduce our special guest before we get into his background and everything else. Take it.
Hey, Gary. Thanks, man. And I hope everybody's having a great week. And Gary, thanks for the introduction. Gary, this evening, we have one of the finest high school coaches to come along. Did a great job in PG County, then went to Kempsville in Virginia, went on the college level at Bowie State. He's done it at every level. I say this, and I say it sincerely. Tonight, we're talking to someone who is simply one of the best, Coach Taft Hickman. Coach, how you doing, man?
Hey, thank you for that introduction. I'm doing just fine. Relaxed here, and was looking forward to talking with you guys tonight and talking some basketball. Louisville's I got a connection in Louisville.
Yeah, who's that?
Who'd you connect?
I know you remember the football player Leonard Lyles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As part of my family, West Son. So I knew Westfield well, and West knew Leonard Lyles. And matter of fact, I went through there one time, heading back to Oklahoma, and met some of my cousins.
All right. Hey, well, you've got an invitation to come to Kentucky, to Louisville anytime, and I can take you over to Louisville. You can schmooze with Kenny Payne.
Well, I grew up on the Missouri Valley when Louisville was in the Missouri Valley.
Wow.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Yes, indeed.
But, being here and hearing about those good old days, like I think my first familiarity with Louisville basketball was when they were in the old Metro Conference, and they used to go at it like hard with Memphis State when it was called Memphis State. I mean, I think there was a ball after one game. I mean, that was a blood rivalry, if anything, I saw. And of course, here I am covering the Cardinals as well as University of Kentucky. So as a basketball fan, it's like I've been here 10 years and I'm still learning a whole lot of history because there's so much to drink in here. And I'd love to hear some of your stories about that since you have some Louisville connections. Right.
Yeah, it's that was one of my teams, along with Wichita State back in the day, Louisville, Wichita State, and Tulsa. And because I grew up on the Valley.
Yeah.
You also had some teams back when Nolan Richardson was coaching. Had Paul Press and a couple other guys back then.
Oh yeah. Nolan's you talking about a great person? Oh man, he is a super guy. I got a chance to take a couple of my kids from Potomac to the campus University of Tulsa one year.
Really?
I took Brent Milstead, Brian Tucker, and Darryl Robinson. Two of them flew and two of us drove. I drove and Darryl rode with me, and we had a great week. Nolan loved Milstead because he was like Paul Press. He loved Milstead, and Robert Spivey was his assistant coach at that time. And then Nolan, when he found out I was from Oklahoma, we became good friends. I think my daughter became good friends with his daughter out of Tulsa. So.
You said you took Milstead, Robinson, and Tucker. That's your entire front line on that team that year. You didn't take Frank Ross too, and the other guy.
Frank was already gone. But they played it. That was the 84 team. That was going into the 84 year. Frank had graduated. Frank had graduated in 83.
You're right. So the guards then was it Conti and Jeter that year?
Conti and Jeter. Yeah, it was Conti, Jeter, Tucker, Milstead, and Robinson.
Yeah. Yep. I remember a little bit, Coach. I remember a little bit.
That team was a handful. Coaching 5 Division I is pretty tough.
That was a good team, man. And I told you last week, and I talked to you. Seen a lot of basketball. To this day, that night you all played Suitland in the semifinals. Best game I've ever seen. And Milstead hit the shot I heard around the county to win the game for you.
That game was standing room. Well, before the game started, Suitland was talented. I mean, they were. I mean, we were split during the regular season, and they were loaded with 5 Division I's also, just like we were. So it wasn't no slouch game. And what happened with Right. And I've learned a lot of stuff along the way.
Mhm.
I shook the coach's hands before the game, Bobby and Irv, and their palms was sweating. So I went back to my coach and said, "Don't worry, we got this. They're gonna make a mistake somewhere down the way." I said, "Somewhere down the way, we're gonna get that lead," and it just came down to the last shot. I think it was back and forth. The game was played above the rim. It was just one of those games that was played above the rim the entire game.
Yep. And the thing I remember too, the biggest lead either one of y'all had that night was about 5 points. Both way it was battling both ways. Suitland had the Peter brothers, Roddy and the other Peter brother, and what was the other guy that could really jump? Number 30, I think.
DJ and Thomas.
Yes. Yes.
Me and DJ and myself are very good friends. But DJ is out in Phoenix, and we become very good friends. And DJ told me something that it really humbled me. He said, Coach Hickman, he said, he said, everybody loved you. He said, no matter what the game was like, if you won or lost, when you shook our hands, you looked us in the eye and said, nice game, young man. Nice game, young man. He said, we talked about that at the end of the game. He said, you were always like that. And it was just something that I did. I wanted the kids to, whether my team won or their team won, to tell them, nice game, you did a nice job, and just to the kids to feel good.
Well, I've always said it, and I've known it many years, and my dad used to always tell me about you because I think I shared with you, my dad was a principal in PG County.
Exactly.
You are nothing but a class act, win or lose. And my dad always used you and your teams as an example. And that's why I told Gary, I'm excited like a pig in slop in Salisbury right now to have you here today. So this is great. Gary, go ahead and jump in here. I know you got some stuff, man. Jump in.
Yeah, well, as you run off all those names, John, it reminds me of my days at the Washington Post, working on a high school staff. And Coach, I'm sure you remember a good friend of ours, Donald Huff.
Absolutely. That's my guy, Donald Huff.
Donald Huff, Anthony Powell, guys like that that covered your games. I mean, I covered a few too. I think in those days when it was Suitland, Friendly.
Oh yeah,
Hill. Yeah. I went to Largo. Just so you know, I remember.
Are you in Largo?
Yeah.
What years you coming out? What year?
78. Yeah.
Oh, you were there when Charlie
Anderson.
Charlie Anderson. Yeah. That's my frat brother, and it's my favorite. It's one of my best friends.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, he was cool people, and I tell you, when we went down there to Potomac that night, it was like they hung for like literally a few minutes, and I mean it was just a track meet. It was like watching a pro team, go against a bunch of I ain't gonna say scrubs, but against a bunch of practice players. But they learned from that. That was the whole thing. The ride back, I remember on the bus, was what did you learn from that? And he said, this is what we aspire to be. When we weren't that far away, because when I came there.
Was Tony Yanshulis your coach? Who's your coach? Tony? Was Yanshulis?
Yanshulis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have Yanshulis as your coach, Gary?
Yanshulis he was a JV coach at that time. And
he was the head coach for him in 80. I finished at Parkdale in 80.
I think he became a head coach after I graduated.
Jake Barnes was your coach. Was Jake Barnes?
Yeah, Barnes. Yeah,
Barnes. I followed Jake Barnes to Thomas Pullen. So I knew all you guys. I knew everybody from the Largo that went down to Largo because Pullen was affiliated to Largo.
Yeah, and I think about those days, especially like anybody that played Suitland just knew that was going to be a really intense game. I mean, they were a physical team. They were tough, and it was like whatever you thought you were gonna get from Suitland, they would bring a little bit more.
Yes, they did.
Getting inside your heads.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, there was a saying. I don't know how much that might apply, with other areas, but there was always this understanding that it's like, if you lose, if you win the game, you might lose the fight afterward. It got testy.
That was Potomac and Crossland.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I'll be honest with you. One of the roughest places when I was in high school that I could think of playing at was Potomac, especially on a Friday night. The crowd was always in the game. They were right there, and that's a hard place to get a win at when you're on the road. A hard place.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't tell everybody, but we had a couple of dead spots in that gym, and that's when we put that press on you. The ball wouldn't come back up.
So that wasn't a fluke, because that was something Coach Anderson
didn't come back up. No, we had it.
Why couldn't you tell me that about 30 years ago, Coach? Why?
I couldn't let you on all of our secrets.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach. Look, I asked a few people, when I say the name Taft Hickman, what comes to mind? Can I share with you some things that they said? And after I share, I'm going to tell you each person who it is.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Here's one. Life changer for me. Still remember when he took me to 5-star camp in Pennsylvania? When I came back, I was a whole new player my senior year. Took my senior year to a different level. I can go on, but I am grateful. Thanks, Mr. Hickman, for taking me to camp. My good friend, my teammate, Abby Jacobs from Parkdale.
Right. I remember Abby, a nice swing guy.
Yes, indeed.
Nice swing player.
Yes, indeed.
I wasn't gonna let him ride with me if he couldn't bring it.
Well, you know Abby could shoot. He could get it in. He could do it.
Right.
Let me give you another one. Here we go. When I said Taft Hickman, he thinks of you and he thinks of loyalty, excellence, consistency, intelligence, preparation. Renard Johnson, one of your players at Potomac and the current coach at Potomac High School.
Yeah, Renard, that was one of my guys. We had some go-arounds a few times in practice, but Renard turned out great. He was a smart kid. He played the game hard, and he told me actually one time he wanted to come to Potomac because the math was pulling hard on him. But he said, Coach, I was coming to Potomac. I've had a lot of kids that Morgan was pulling pretty hard on, but they said they had in their mind they would come to games. They just loved it. They just loved the way the crowd was, the way the kids played, and they dreamed of putting that uniform on. I was very particular about that uniform. If you play JV, you got a practice shirt, but you didn't get any practice shorts unless you played varsity. So when kid told you he played varsity at Potomac, I should always say, ask him about the shorts. Ask him if he have any shorts. If he didn't get any shorts, he didn't play varsity.
Now this next one, he says, you're a father figure, you're committed, he trusts you, and he knows about your loyalty. Former player at Potomac and now the current coach at Gwynn Park, Rob Garner.
Oh, yeah. Rob was like a son. I took him on as a ninth grader, and I threw him to the wolves. Frank Ross came by one time. I think Frank was either at AU or he could have been in school, but Frank was gone. But Frank stopped by, and I had Rob in the gym. He was working out. He was a little small, puny guy. I said, Frank, that's going to be my starting point guard. He said, Coach, it's going to be your starting point guard. I said, Frank, he's only a freshman, but he's going to be a good one. He's going to be a good one.
Now, I got two more for you.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to do this coach next. He says you have strong organizational skills. You probably had the best organizational skills of any coach in Prince George's County. You know how to identify roles of players better than everybody else. You always put players in the right position to win. You had a strong system where you would be ready, where that kid would be ready to lead when it was their turn. Monty Williams was ready to lead. Brian Tucker was ready to lead. Byron Tucker was ready to lead. You went to Kempsville. You did the same thing and had similar success. This coach told me a short story. He said, y'all played Bladensburg. Bladensburg had a 6'7" kid who was dominant. You decided to go to a triangle and two. And the key was you knew the role players would score all the points and then went past the ball at the end to the star player. Sure enough, that's what happened. And your triangle and two worked. That guy is Coach George Wake, from Fairmont Heights High School.
Yeah, George. We had some. George had some good teams. I tell you that. We had to prepare. We had to prepare for George too. It wasn't no easy night when we played Fairmont Heights. It was a battle. I remember one night, Monty dropped 44, and the kid from Fairmont dropped 43 over at Fairmont Heights, and it was a battle. I mean, George worked hard, and George actually told me one time I missed a game in the summer league. I went down to Virginia Beach, and when I got back, I get the kids lost to Mount Vernon. And George told my team, he says, "I'm gonna tell y'all, coach, how y'all played." I didn't pay much mind. And then when I got back, actually we beat Mount Vernon in the Crosser Summer League that summer. That was '89 with Monty and those guys. We actually blew them out. And somebody said, "Well, how's Potomac beating Mount Vernon so bad?" And somebody pointed up on top of the stands, the coach is up there now. And I let them, when I'm not there, I let them enjoy themselves. You know, they could play. I mean, they all knew how to play, and they knew if I wasn't there, they could freelance a little bit more.
Well, this last one I'm going to give you loves you to death. Absolutely, positively loves you, coach. He says you're an icon coach in the DMV. You were the greatest coach he ever played for. He takes his hat off to you. He transferred into pulling in the 9th grade from Shugart Junior High School. You prepared him to play in high school. You showed him how to shoot. You showed him how to get his shot. You showed him how to rebound. You showed him how to slide his feet on defense. He didn't ever want to play for anybody else but Taft Hickman. And that is the one and the only Stacy Robinson.
Oh yeah, he's a legend, man. He was something else. I mean, that kid. I just can't say enough about Stacy. And you know, we still talk every now and then, have a relationship. And I followed him, you know, through high school. I wish I could have stayed with him the entire time, you know, because of he was special. I mean, he was special. I think after they played the McDonald's Capital Classic that year, I went to the hotel where they were. Stacy was on the bus, but the coach from Cincinnati, I don't know who it was at that time, but he came up to me and said, "Look, I'll take Stacy Robinson right now. I'll take him off the bus and take him with me right now." Was
that Gail Catlett? Was that Gail Catlett at the time?
That was in the 70s.
Okay, it was before Catlett.
I think it was before Catlett. But Stacy had a game about him that was way above anyone else. And you know, it's I still admire him. We talk. You know, he'll sit down, he'll run stuff past me that he remembers. You know, he remembered the first day he came in the gym, some of the games that we had in junior high. I mean, he was dunking the ball, goaltending, you know, playing point guard, playing center, he was like the kid from Mayo High School. What was the kid who went to Louisville?
Was it Darrell Griffin?
Darrell Griffin. He was a Darrell Griffin type of player. He wasn't as big as Darrell Griffin, but he was that type of player.
Okay. That's saying a lot right there. And he, you know, Stacy is absolutely one of the greatest players to come out of this area. I mean, he was something else. Oh yeah.
You know, we beat Largo's JV won the JV championship, I think, in '72. And they came up and scrimmaged us. And when we won the junior high championship, they came up and scrimmaged. I knew most of the guys on the Largo team, Rodney Prillman and some of those guys. I knew most of those guys. They came up and scrimmaged us, and we beat them pretty easily.
Coach, I want to say this, and I want to make sure that everybody listening to this hears this right. You took your Thomas Pullen 9th grade and 8th grade junior high school team to play the JV team of 10th graders that won the PG County Championship, and you beat them.
Right.
You hear that, Gary?
I hear. Hey, it was what it was, man.
Well, yeah.
But it was. But I mean, that's the way it was. Kind of a fledgling high school at that time too.
Yeah, Gary. I'm gonna tell you who was on that team. Who the best two players were: Stacy Robinson and Benny Watkins.
Wow.
Benny Watkins went to Bowie, and we had Will Jones was on that team. Herb Gray had a hard time getting off the bench. Herb Gray was I think a 7th grade at that time. He was just a little young, but he was on the team. And Kevin Merritt went to Crossland, but Kevin worked for the Washington Post. Kevin was on that team. I had 17 guys on that. I kept 17 players. I had to alternate 2 guys every game. I mean, we had size. Had the kids lived in Glen Arden area, Glen Apartments area. Had the kids lived on Booker T homes on the Booker T area, and had the kids came from the Sea Pleasant area. So, and Peppermill Rec at that time had great teams, and they just kind of fed into Thomas Pullen at that time.
Yeah. How many years did you stay over at Pullen?
That's cute. Oh, I'm sorry, John.
I was there for 2 years, and I got transferred to but they had the busing, and I got transferred to Bel Air Junior High. Didn't have a job. Well, didn't have a basketball coaching job. They wanted me to be the golf coach, and Mr. Kirkland, who's the principal there, he said, "Well, we already have a basketball coach and basketball team, and at that time and whatever." And I wasn't happy. I was not very happy because we were going to be just as good when Station them left. We were going to be just as good. And I was walking down the hallway one day, and the librarian saw me, and she said, "Young fella," she said, "Come here. What's wrong with you? You don't look happy." And I explained to her what had happened. I was the last PE teacher in, so I was the first one out. So I got transferred. And she said, "My husband is looking for a coach over at Bowie State." And so I got my shirt and tie, and I'm 24 years old. I bounced over to Bowie State to try to get the head job. And our coach was junior high school. And I went in and talked to Mr. A.C. Jordan, who the arena's named after, A.C. Jordan Arena. He was out back there, and I went and talked to him. And that's when they were in the old gym, McKeldin. He said, "Well, I think Joe Dean had just left. Joe Dean Davidson, coach at Dunbar. Joe Dean was there. Joe Dean had just left." And he said, "Young fella, you're a little young." He said, I said, "Well, I can do the job." I said, "I can do the job. I'm trying to go from junior high to college." And he said, "Well, I got my mind on a head coach. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire you as an assistant coach." And, so he hired me and as assistant coach. And I did that for 2 years. And that's when I got the head job in Laurel. I was still teaching, in the county. I was teaching at Laurel. No, I was at Bel Air.
Okay.
Where I was at Bowie. Then I got the head job at Laurel. I went to Laurel, but the head coach came in, we're still very good friends, Joyce Blair, who was from Philadelphia. And Joyce Blair had coached against John Chaney and all those guys. He was from Ben Franklin. He coached at Ben Franklin in Philly. And he had coached against those guys. So when I met him, he said, he looked at me and he was like, "Well, I hire my own coaches." So I said, "Oh, I'm out of a job. I'm out of a job." So as we talked and we talked, he said, "I really like you." He said, because you like defense and I like offense. So we got two opposites. We got, I'm offense, he's defense, I'm defense and he's offense. So it worked out great. I stayed there for 2 years, and then that's when I got the head job at Laurel.
Wow. That is something else. Gary, go ahead and jump in there. Cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. No, I've enjoyed this. Hey, Coach, I guess as we kind of go down memory lane, maybe you can fill in some holes for me, because I've been away from the area for a little bit. Okay, know about your time at Potomac, but kind of give us a rundown of all the places that high schools that you coached at in the DC area, and I guess down in Virginia Beach area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when I left Bowie State, I went to Laurel High School, and I pulled my one of my best friends, who's at Thomas Pullen. I asked him, did he want to go to junior high? Would he come and be my JV coach at Laurel? So that was Randy Maddox. So Randy came up, my JV coach, and we put the team together at Laurel. We had a great team. I mean, after 2 years, I think I went to Laurel. They were 3-23 when I went there. And I talked to Burl Cohen, who's the athletic director and the wrestling coach. He gave me 5 basketballs. I said, "What am I supposed to do with these?" He said, "Well, you got to prove yourself." So I said, "Okay, I got to go to work." We had some old woolly warm-ups. We called them woolies. They were the old ones. They were woolly type.
I remember those.
And we went to work. And man, PG County was tough at that time. Man, you had Gwen Park was tough. Lou Wilson was playing at Douglas. You had Sonny Boy Proctor and them guys at Gwen Park. And here I am stuck way up in the northern part of Laurel, the county in Laurel. where Morgan Wooten had taken Billy Langlow and Vern Allen out of Laurel. And Billy Langlow played at Virginia, was from Laurel, and so was Vern Allen. And that was like a little bit of Morgan's pull. And so I'm trying to build this team together. And we went to work. I started a basketball camp and put everything together. And within 3 years, we had a couple of kids transfer in. Myself had a couple of kids transfer in. Nate Cole, who wound up at Potomac, was you might play against Nate. Nate was about 6'8", 6'9", went to Ohio University.
Okay.
Frank Isaac came from H.D. Woodson. He was about 6'6". And Nate Green, who lived in Bowie, went to Samuel Ogle, but came to Bowie. He wanted to take a trade. He was 6'8". So we had a nice front line. And then Gene Loudermill and Greg Moore were my two guards. We were 6'3", 6'4". So we were real decent. And I coached that team for 3 years. And the JV team was good. Ran into the JV squad. And Mr. Jordan called me up. And he said, Taft, he said, I need your help. I think they had just fired the head coach, Coach Blair. And I said, Mr. Jordan, I said, I like it up here. I built this team up and, built the program up. And Laura was on, we were coming. We had everybody coming back. We had a 6'3" point guard coming in from Laura Junior High, averaging about 30 points a game, Carlos Canales. We had size. Bob Hart played at University. Well, I had Bob Hart and Mark McGeshry. McGeshry played at George Mason. Bob Hart played at University of Maryland. So it wasn't like we didn't develop any players. And what happened was Mr. Jordan called me up and he said, I just want you to put a team together. Can you come back down? Can you come back? I said, Mr. Jordan, he said, well, I don't want you to leave your teaching job. I just want you to come down here and coach your team. We don't have any money. We really can't give you that much. But I love Mr. Jordan. I really loved him. And I always wanted to coach in the HBCU. I wanted to coach at HBCU. And I went back as a head coach in 78. I'm like 77, 78. I went back. I gave my position up at Laurel. Randy got the head job. And Cole moved down to Potomac area. Frank Isaac went back to H.D. Woodson. And Nate Green didn't want to play anymore. So Randy took the JV guys and had Nolan Gibson. And they moved in and came on and won the state championship within, I think, 80. Randy won the state championship in 80.
Yep, it was 1980.
1980 won state championship, and people would say, how'd you do this so fast? He said, I didn't do this. He said Coach Hickman did all this. And he always told people, he said, I didn't do this. And then I went down, well, me and Bowie, it just wasn't a fit the first time because I was trying to do some things. And, I really wanted to make that program go. Mm-hmm. And we had a kid by the name of Chucky Jackson out of Anacostia.
Yep, Chucky Jackson. Mm-hmm.
Chuck was one of the top Division III players in America. And we had kids from, Central and Largo and, local schools. I knew all the high school coaches, so I knew I could get players. Now, I'm going to tell you who my assistant was. Nobody knows this. I wanted him to take the head job. I was going to stay at Bowie, but he wouldn't take it. Eddie Myers.
Eddie Myers. That was your assistant coach at Bowie State?
I gave Eddie his first coaching job on the college level. I told Eddie, when the job came open, I told Eddie, I can get you the head job. I don't want to leave my Laurel program. I can get you the head job. But Eddie said he didn't want to dive from, I think he was at Langley Junior High to college. He said that was going to be a little bit tough. He really didn't want to do it because he didn't want to help me get Chucky and some of the guys out of DC. And Eddie came with me, and I'm telling you, we won 2 games. The first year, we won 2 games. We beat Gallaudet twice. We won 2 games. But we played everybody tough. I mean, everybody tough. It was just a matter of putting a program together. So John Thompson called me up and said, can I talk to you about Eddie Myers? I said, yeah, we talked. So we talked. He asked what about his loyalty. I'm very big on loyalty from assistant coaches, players, entire program, managers, everybody. The whole program is like a loyalty type thing. And so I told him he was a great guy. We won 2 games and he never, strayed or anything. And John took Eddie away. Eddie was gone. That's how Eddie got to Georgetown.
Wow. I never knew Eddie Myers was on your bench. Never knew that. Wow. And he's a really great guy. Great guy. Wow.
Yeah, he's struggling health-wise now, but a great person, yeah.
Yeah, Coach, we always, I mean, as John was running off all the names, and you were talking about some of those. I've always been curious with coaches as to what is it that you look for, and what is it that you notice maybe about a player that you just kind of see that, and you're able to pull them in, and not only develop them as a player, but also give them the tools to be a coach someday, to lead their own program.
Well, I always look back and I thank God for the gift he gave me to be able to do that, because basketball was my first love. I played junior high basketball. And when we went to ninth grade, we had to try out for the JV team, which is going to be tough because the junior high, the principal, they had problems and we couldn't play junior high. So our ninth grade, we were housed in high school and they wouldn't let us go down and play junior high. So we had to try out for the JV team. And my best friend, who's still my best friend, we had played together in junior high. We had started, but I didn't grow. I didn't grow any. I stayed about the same size. I stayed about 5'1", 5'2", and in ninth grade. And I tried out, and I was one of the last cuts. And I was a really heck of a baseball player, and so then I just started concentrating on baseball because I figured if I don't ever grow, I'm not going to play basketball anywhere, but I can probably play baseball somewhere. And my best friend went on to be an all-stater in basketball in Oklahoma in 1965, and I didn't make all-state in baseball, but my players on my team thought I should have been an all-stater because they said, "Well, you should have been." I came out the same year as Johnny Bench came out, and they thought I should have been an all-state baseball player. But I played everything. I mean, my high school coach, Dr. Albert Schultz, who coached at Langston, who coached Tommy Henderson, all those guys. Mm-hmm. He had told me, I coached with him 1 year when I did my student teaching. He had told me one time, he said, "You better not get big. You better not grow." He said, "If you grow and get bigger," he actually told me I probably could have been the best athlete to ever come to my high school because I could play any sport. I mean, I could football, basketball, baseball. I just didn't have any size about me until I got to college because I was very young. I was 2 years younger than anybody in my class. I was in one of those classes where I was a 13-year-old ninth grader.
Wow. And
my buddies, when they all were like 15 going on 16, I was 13 going on 14 in April. So the maturity didn't come until I got to college. And when people saw me in college, they wanted to know, who was I? He said, "He's got that big." I went to like 185 pounds. And it was just amazing that, that when people would come to see me in college play baseball, mm-hmm. and I tried football one season there, and I was actually starting in football as a safety till I hurt my arm. And the guys came out from my hometown, come watch. They didn't know who I was. They were like, "He didn't got that big," and because I lift weights and ran, I worked out very hard. I was a gym rat.
Wow.
I was a gym rat, and the college, my best friend in college was on the basketball team. So when players came in when coaches brought players in, I was always with him. I would work out when the guys worked to college, the recruits out. I would always work out with them, so that improved my basketball skills. So I got to be pretty good in basketball, and I learned a lot by watching. I learned a lot. I studied the game, and even my high school teammates, they would tell me that you're doing exactly what we thought you would do. And they would say, "We thought you were coaching in high school. you were coaching when you were in high school." I never noticed it, but they noticed that about me when I was like 15, 16, 17-year-old kid.
Wow. And you grew up in Oklahoma, right? That's where you're from.
From Muskogee. You heard that song by Mel? I know you ain't heard that song by Mel Haggard. You probably never heard that song.
I'm gonna tell you something. Dad wanted to pretend like he was a country guy. So yeah, I heard a little Merle Haggard and a little few other country songs, man. So,
okay.
Man, and then you came. What year did you come up to PG County? What year was that?
1970. They wanted me to stay in my hometown, but there's just nothing there for me. I just, it was small. It got like 50,000 people. We're not going to a small town. About 50,000 people, and all the principals, everybody wanted me to stay. They want me to stay, and I'm like, I can't stay here. I gotta go. I got to have my car. I wanted my mom. I'm the youngest boy. I have 6 brothers. I'm the second youngest in my family. We have 11. I'm the second youngest. And I asked my mom when I was going to graduate from college. I said, "You want to ride out there with me to the graduation?" She looked at me. She said, "Baby, I'm tired." And I said, "Mom, don't worry about it." I got in my car, drove, and graduated. And when I went across the stage, my car was already packed. I kept driving. I got turned around in East St. Louis, got lost in East St. Louis. That wasn't good. I missed a turn and wound up in East St. Louis. I said, "Oh, I heard about East St. Louis. I got to get out of here."
They're a little interesting in East St. Louis, Coach. It's a little interesting there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. When I made that wrong turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, Coach. For some reason, I had a tech glitch and dropped off there for a moment. I guess in terms of recruiting players, I mean, with Potomac being so close to the district line, how did players come across the border, come across the district line to want to play for you? I mean, how did you kind of navigate that with all the issues with eligibility and that sort of thing, or did it even matter?
Oh, that's a very good question. When Ed McDonald was the coach at Suitland, and Ed McDonald, the year we won the state championship, he said I had the cleanest roster in the whole county. Kids were from Shugart and Stoddard, those two schools, the two feeder schools. Everyone was from that area. A lot of kids would want to come across the line, but it's about integrity. And I really, that neighborhood had so many good players in it, and I just didn't think that I needed anybody out of my zone to come there and play, to come and help me, because I felt that I could do it. I can get the kids where they need to get to if they want to play basketball. And, me and Carlton Valentine, we don't play. We call him, we laugh and talk a lot. Carlton said, "Coach, I live right down the Southeast." I said, "Yeah, I know you did." And X-Ray Hip lived down that way. They went to Maryland. I said, "Yeah, I know where you guys live. You guys live just on the other side of the line. I wish you would have been on my side." And but that was because they could just catch that bus and come up Wheeler Road. And when that bus stopped up at the top of the hill on Wheeler Road, a lot of kids got off. I don't know where they live, but a lot of kids got off. But our basketball team was strictly, Potomac zone, Prince George's County. If a kid moved into something, it was it's something you navigate. And there's one thing that I'm from a public school situation out in Oklahoma, and I didn't grow up in that, so I didn't really know anything about the recruiting thing until I got here. And players are like going to different schools and going here and going there. I'm like, why don't you go to school in your neighborhood? Make your neighborhood that good. And that 81 team, we're very tight, and that 81 team is what did it for Potomac. I mean, Potomac was good before I got there. They had good players, but I don't know if they all lived in the zone or not. But after I got there, they all lived in the zone.
Well, what I'll say, Coach, to that, we're just gonna assume, we're gonna think the glass is half full. That team that they had in '78 that went to the state playoffs, we're gonna assume all of them lived in the right zone. That's what we're gonna assume. Terry Tola,
Eddie Evans, all those guys there. Yeah, those guys. Yeah. Eddie Evans, Terry Tola,
Mo Rivers.
Mo started off at the Mather and then went to Fairmont Heights to Mather, then to Potomac.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what was your first year at Potomac, Coach, being the head coach?
I came in mid-season in 80.
80. Okay, that's what I thought.
Ronnie Hart was the head coach, and me and Ron we've been good friends since like in the early 70s, because Ron coached at Francis Scott Key, and I coached at Thomas. But we only went to head one time in junior high. And he played me when I had station those guys, so it wasn't fair. Ron had a great team, but it wasn't fair. And he saw me at a game. I just left Bowie State mid-season for reasons of trying to help kids out, and I just left Bowie. So he said, what are you doing now? I said, "Man, I'm not doing anything. I don't think I want to even coach." Because we'd gone pretty hard for 10 years by myself. We're going pretty hard. We've gone to camps together and done things together. And he said, "Look, I need some help at Potomac." I said, "You don't need any help. All the players you got out there." But he had quadruple bypass surgery. So I went into practice on Saturday. They played student on a Friday night, and I went to practice on Saturday, and it was like crazy. And I'm a strict disciplinarian. There's no talking in practice. You can hear a pin drop. It's like, oh, you hear his tennis shoes. And it was like guys were all over the place. And like, golly, I'm like, I looked at Ron and he looked at me and says, I can't control him anymore because I'm sick. I went, yeah. So I stayed with him that day and coached with him. And then he was like coming back on Monday. And I said, I don't know. I said, but I knew he needed to help. So I came back on Monday and practice was a little bit better. It's a little bit better on Monday. And then Tuesday night, we played Duval over at Duval. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he's like, Taft, he said, I can't get up. He said, my chest is hurting. I'll tell you what to do. And then you just do the stuff that, So he told me things to do. And I got him. So he had 2 assistants and he didn't want neither one of them to have a job. So I think we beat Duval at Duval. So Wednesday I came to practice. Ron wasn't there. The principal of the school called me in and said, Coach Hart just resigned. He wants you to be the head coach. I said, I don't want to coach them guys. I said, I don't want to coach them guys. He said, no, he wants you to have a job. So me and Ron talked, and he said, Taft, he said, tell you what, he said, you'll do better than what I did because you coach a little bit different. You coach different from me, and we got talent, but your discipline is so tight. Your discipline is so tight, you'll win here. He said, you'll win. And he said, well, stay 5 years and get your college job or something, whatever. But he said, this would be a good place for you. Because me and Ron had talked before, when he was coaching football, he wanted me to come down and do basketball. He was going to assist me. And he was coaching football, and I was going to assist him. And wow. that's the friendship that we had that nobody knew about. Nobody knew about the friendship that we had, and we never played each other in high school. But I should try to get him to come to Laura and play. He didn't want to come play. Because I know when Central and Largo and some of the teams would come to Laura and play, they said, man, these kids from Laura, they're not very good, but they're gonna play you so hard. We don't want to play them. They don't quit. And that was one of the things that we developed that I learned over the years of myself, trying to play a sport, of not being a quitter, staying with it, working hard, just giving your best at all times.
Now, when you took over that job at Potomac in '80, you had a point guard, Leo BB McGaney, right?
Oh, BB, yeah, BB was tough. BB could play. I mean, he was way above everybody on the team. I mean, when I say way above everyone, he was on a different level. He was on a total different level, those guys.
He played varsity all 3 years, right, Coach? He played 10th, 11th, and 12th grade varsity, right?
10th, 11th, and 12th. He was so far above everybody that they couldn't stay up with him. The kids on the team couldn't stay up with him. He was so far above everyone that, he would throw passes. They couldn't even catch it. He'd penetrate. He was a real good dish guy. He would dish it off, whatever. They wouldn't catch it. He was a nice setup playing guard. He could get you 16, 17, 20 points a game. Wouldn't go on high in 20 unless he had to. But when he was at that, I mean, tough body build, just a really strong type of kid. So I only had him that half the season, but I had to help him. He went to Towson, and I had to help him, get where he got. And as far as getting in school and going places and from that type of situation. But I really didn't get to know him as a player. Whether he could have played for me or not, a different story. I really don't know because of the discipline because the next year I told a couple of kids to transfer out. They want to be starters. I told Rob Surratt, who was a starting point guard, he said something about, I think in practice one day, Rob said, but Coach Hart said, do it this way. I can't tell you what I said, but he was on his way to Florida with Coach Hart. And wow. They came over one by one. Fred Sanford came over first on my side. As a new coach coming in, taking somebody's place who had taught a little bit different. I taught a little bit more discipline, even on the defensive side and the offensive side. And I used to taught just a little bit more because I see players now. I went to a game about 3 years ago now for Potomac, and some of the guys came over and said, Coach, if you'd have been here and they throwing that ball away like that, you'd have been going off. Because I didn't believe in, well, of course they're going to make mistakes, but we would keep our turnovers down. In fact, there was Daryl Robinson. Daryl came over and says, Coach, did you see that? You see how they're playing? I know you'd have never allowed that. He said, never. I said, hey, it's like a different time now.
Wow. Wow. But let me ask you this. Your first state championship team was 1981.
Yes, correct.
How special does it still feel for you to win that first one?
Oh, I got the picture right behind me, and the kids got together this past the young men got together this past spring, I think 2021, and because we got jackets back then because all my jackets are too small for us, so they ordered rings. Everybody ordered rings, so we got 19. And what everybody does rings now. It's like, can you get the ring? So we got 80. Daryl Moore, one of the captains, Fred and Surratt were the captains, and they got together and got everybody together and found everyone, and we all got the 81 state championship rings. And it was a special time because Potomac had never won a state championship at any sport.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first state championship they had ever won in any sport. Wow. And so that was special. And I just let the guys, I let them enjoy it. Every time we meet or some whatever, the principal gave me like $400 that night to eat after the game, after the state championship. We went to the pizza, one of those pizza places down there, and I let them order whatever they wanted to order at that time. You know, I said, guys, get whatever you want. We had a very good administration who loves sports, and like I say, it was the first state championship, and so that rings very, very big. And I was happy to be a part of that because it was like Fred Sanford. We still talk. Billy Swan, because Billy went to Bowie State and helped me also. Billy did. I got a chance to talk to your guy. I talked to Steve Harrigan. Well, Steve would be on the Zoom with us. We had a little Zoom. We have a little Zoom thing. Steve would come on there. I hadn't talked to Steve in a long time. I got a chance to talk with him, and me and Surratt and myself, we talked quite a bit. And like I say, Daryl, of course, Daryl's down at Kempsville, the girls' coach. He's doing wonders. People ask Daryl, where'd he come from? He says, I played for Coach Hickman.
One and only.
Daryl said, I played for Coach Hickman, you know. And when I first got the job at Kempsville, I actually tried to get Daryl to be my assistant, but he couldn't work it out. And about 7 or 8 years later, he was able to work it out. And he started with me, but then the girls' job came open, and I got in the girls' job. And so he's done a fantastic job.
That's great.
I have to ask you this because it's kind of like the elephant in the room. One of your former players who we hear a lot about here, coaching in the NBA, Monty Williams. When you reflect on having him as a player, what was it that stood out about him, and what kind of satisfaction does it give you to see him at the highest level and thriving among all of the coaching tree that you spawned?
Well, just to watch him, it's like amazing. I mean, I never knew he was going to get into coaching after, because Monty was straight A student also. I never knew he was going to get into coaching after basketball, but I guess he was on the bench. He was taking notes. He was like me. He was taking notes and scoring 30 points a game and getting 16, 17 rebounds and taking us to wins. And I didn't know that he was soaking everything in, because when we go to camp sometime, we go over to 5 Star somewhere, and we be driving mine. So can we go back the night of the camp? I'm working the camp and I'm tired. It's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Garfield in those camps at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And Monty wants to come back home. He didn't have a driving license. So I got driving way up in the Poconos from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. And but he was a very, very humble kid. Very humble. Thanks God for everything that's happened to him in his life. His success has been unparalleled because of he had that cardiomyopathy when he was at Notre Dame, and he was out for a couple of years, and we deal with that. I mean, I kind of ran a protection on him because he went to Notre Dame. That's where he didn't know that much about Notre Dame, but at that time Notre Dame was turning out pros if you average 10 points a game and 5 rebounds. Mm-hmm. I said, Monty, it's the best place for you. Academically, basketball wise, Digger Phelps is a great coach, and Digger loved him. But Digger called me on the pay. I don't know, he got the payphone number. I was going to summer camp, but told me the payphone rang. It was Digger Phelps on the payphone. No, I got it, but he called the payphone, And he said, I'm watching Monty Williams play out here in California, and I really love him. I said, well, guess what? We love you too. And that was how the story started with Notre Dame. And like I say, it it's up in the northwest, up in the other part of the country, and it's cold and snowy. But I thought it was the best place for him. He was a Notre Dame type of kid to me. He was that because I followed New Rockne and I followed Notre Dame, and I knew a lot about the football history and basketball history, with that. And so, but I thought that was the best school for him. And watching him coach now, it's like amazing, because he'll run some things by me sometimes. Sometimes if he really want to run something, he really needs some help, he'll hit me up. I said, Coach, how'd you do this for so long? And I know 2 or 3 years ago, before they went to the bubble, we talked for an hour on the phone. I was doing a driver's ed job down at Virginia Beach, and he called and we talked for an hour. He says, how do you coach these guys nowadays? He said, how do you coach these guys? I said, they're different. I said, the first thing you got to do is you got to get them to run through a wall for you. If they're run through a wall for you, you'll win. That's the psychological part that you have to work on. And that was the psychological part I was hoping that he could catch, that I was telling him about how to do it. You're to show them that you love them. If you love them, they'll love you back.
Wow.
They will love you back. And I watched some of the words he used. He used that word love all the time. He tell the kids he love them. The young men, he love them. And he still uses that word. And we did that in practice every day. No matter how angry I got in practice or how much I ran them or wherever I did in practice, at the end of practice, I bring them back together. And I always told them I love them. I got that from Morgan Wooten, not the love part, but I got the part from Morgan Wooten of bringing the team together before practice, let them know everything they're going to do. And you bring them at the end together at the end of practice, and you give them something positive.
Yeah. You're a disciple of Wooden. I mean, you believed in his philosophy. And I read one story where you picked the brains of Dean Smith. But with your kind of success, especially when you're talking about dealing with players, did those coaches, particularly Dean Smith, did they ever pick your brain for anything? I mean, what did they ask you?
I really can't remember a whole lot, but we talked, and they would look at me kind of funny sometimes. That young fella knows a little bit, he don't know a lot, but he knows a little bit. And I tell you that the summer league that I went out to coach with Monty, brought me down to New Orleans one summer, and I got a chance to coach in the summer league with the New Orleans with the Hornets. And I went down to New Orleans, and when I got there, they had like 9 coaches, and James Barigio, who just was at Charlotte. The first thing he said to me was, "Coach," he said, "You probably know way more than us." And so, but once I got to the terminology, I think Randy Harris was like Monty's head honcho, assistant coach. Randy was kind of watching everything, and as I got with the terminology that the NBA used, the only difference was we use a different terminology on the high school and the college level and the pro level. We use a different terminology. And once I learned the terminology, I just jumped right in. I jumped right in, and they let me. I put a summer league fast break in, and because they coached, the style was different. And what happened was Mauricio actually let me put something in one of the summer league games, and it worked. He looked at me at the end of the game and smiled and winked at me, and he said, "I got that from Coach Hickman." So we kind of laughed about it, but I've always been open to talk basketball with anyone, and usually Mike Fratello, I normally don't talk basketball to people that don't know certain people, because a lot of people think they know basketball but don't know basketball. So I usually don't hold a conversation. I'll listen, but I don't get deep into the stuff we're getting into. Like I picked Al McGuire's brain. I picked John McClendon's brain. Me and John McClendon sat down one time to CIAA for 2 hours.
Wow.
Just talking basketball. Well, Archie Talley introduced me to him. Like, you got to know Archie Talley. Archie saw me in the other game, and me and Archie were talking. John came by, and John said, Archie said, "I want you to meet somebody?" And so me and John went off somewhere else, and Lisa and I talked for 2 hours. And I picked this brain, and it's just like I tell people now, if you want to know something about basketball, ask me. You never know what I know. You never know. People don't realize at Potomac, we ran probably 15 different defenses and 17 different offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And these are kids who people thought, matter of fact, when the year 81 state championship team, when college coaches want to know, because they weren't really Division I players, but they were good high school basketball players. I mean, college coaches want to know about them. They asked me, did they qualify for aid? I said, nope. I said, their parents all work for the government. They all got a little money. They come from nice homes. They don't qualify for any aid, and that was the whole thing. John looked at Fred Stanford a little bit. He looked at Fred Stanford a little, but not enough. Fred didn't have a great enough year, but Fred Stanford could really play basketball. That kid could really play. And but that's what I tell people sometimes when we start talking basketball. I could give you some stuff that'll make your head swim that I picked up from certain coaches along the way that I still remember. And my epitome of the greatest person I met was John Wooten. I'm seeing a picture of me and John Wooten standing next to each other, but that was amazing. And I've got a book here. I've had all of his books. I've read all of his books, and that guy was something else.
He was absolutely something else. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. When it comes to coaching,
wasn't bad either. Coach, Denny Crum wasn't bad either.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, I guess with all the things that you just talked about in terms of picking brains and whatever. Yeah, I mean, I know you're officially retired, but are you ever really retired as a coach?
No. To be honest with you, no. Because I was I was in the hospital. Oh no, I was getting some surgery procedure about 2 weeks ago, and the nurse and I started talking, and I was telling her who I was, and we started talking basketball, and she started telling me about her grandson. I said, well, I might be able to help him out a little bit, and she told me who he was. He's a high school senior at one of the high schools here in the WCC. Really great player. He's a really great player. And I said, look, let me try and call some of my buddies up and just put his name out there a little bit higher. And she said she looked me up. She had him look me up. She looked me up. She had him look me up. And so we kind of talked back and forth. And I said, look, I'll help you as much as I can. And sometimes I get phone calls. A college coach might call and say, have you seen so-and-so play? What can you tell me about him? I might say, I really don't watch it anymore because in high school basketball to me has changed. The game is evolving into not a selfish game, but an I and a me game. It's not to me, it's like, it's about team, but so many kids want to get their points, and you got parents yelling and screaming from the stands, shoot the ball, Johnny, shoot the ball, Johnny. And Johnny don't want to shoot the ball. He wants to win the game, but you got your mom and dad yelling, shoot, shoot, shoot. The kid don't know what to do. I mean, he's trying to listen to the coach and listen to the parents. So I don't really, God gave me a gift, and I think it was a gift of I can watch a kid for 2 or 3 minutes and know whether he can play or not. I can just watch. I can watch him warm ups, watch him play, and I can have him analyze from there. I mean, it was just, I think God gave us all gifts, and it was just a gift He gave me, and I'm so glad He let me retire. That get me out of here, get me out this game. So I was really happy for that, because a lot of people have called me up and said, do you still want to coach? You still want to coach? I'm like, no, I really don't want to coach. I really don't. I don't want to do it because I've had some, a couple of surgeries, and my body is just telling me don't do it. And, I'm at the age, I'm like, I'll be 75 my next birthday. And I want to be like Joe Paterno. I want to go to 80. But, when your body started to basketball a little bit, basketball is tough. I see why Al McGuire got out at 70 and Dean got out. I see why coaches get out now. Once I got to that age, I said, oh, I see it now. It'll wear you out.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what, if you ever decide to come back out of retirement, I have the perfect job, high school job for you. Are you ready for it? Here we go. I've told you before, I'm from Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Salisbury.
I like the Eastern Shore.
Oh, I love the Eastern Shore. If if the job ever opens up and you decide to go back, I want you to coach Wycomico.
Oh, that guy done won so many games, man. I can't follow him. He done won about 900. He done won about 900 games.
You can follow Butch Waller. He's been coaching 52 years. He's gonna probably sit down and they're gonna need somebody like you.
Yeah, he's 50-some years now. It was great when I went down there for the governor's challenge. It was nice talking to him. You know, we had conversation. You know, and I watched the kids off the shore, play, and there's some talent down there. There's some talent down there. Just a matter of I think getting off the shore and playing tougher teams will upgrade your players a little bit better. They'll find out that it's a little bit tougher when you come across that bridge. It's a little bit tougher.
You're right. Absolutely. But if you ever decide and Butch Waller leaves, I'm putting your name in for that job, Coach. If Butch Waller leaves, I'm putting your name in for it.
Oh, well, now, see, I'm from a town like down at Wycomico and Y High. I remember Y High back in the day. I remember Y High.
Yeah. And that's still home for me. I love it. So if it ever happened, I'm gonna put your name in for it.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, before we get you out of here, I guess when you look back at your career, what is the most satisfying part? Obviously the players, hold a special place in your heart, but what is it when you reflect the most? What do you reflect on the most, I should say, about your coaching career?
Well, I just smile and I feel like I was blessed with a lot of players. I feel like God blessed me with a lot of players because a lot of people didn't think that I could do it at Potomac or I could do it wherever I went. And as I reflect back, I just go in there and I just say, look, let's go to work. And when I have players that call me up now or some of my former players, they go, Coach, I learned so much from you. And that really, when they say they learn so much, not just basketball, but they learn how to be a person also. They learn discipline, and they learn that, certain things you can't do. Like, I don't allow any cursing in practice. There's no cursing, there's no talking back. There's like everything is positive. I taught them how to do everything because positives builds positives. I think Morgan Wooten had the thing. Morgan Wooten's favorite thing was success builds success. And I learned that from him because we talked a lot about when I was getting successful at Potomac, how do you handle this, Morgan? How do you handle all the success you have at DeMatha? And he sat down and told me. And one of the things he told me when I coached the 93 Capital Classic game and we beat Marcus Camby and those guys, I had Joe Smith and Keith Booth. I had no slouches. But he told James Brown, he said, that guy's pretty good. He told JB that I was a pretty good coach. JB came over the end of the game. He said, Morgan said you were pretty good. And that's coming. I was so humble to hear that coming from Morgan because we had some scrimmages. We never played, but we had some scrimmages. And I think the 88 scrimmage was, I don't know if he wanted to scrimmage anymore because we beat him pretty bad. That's when Monty Williams going into senior year. We beat him pretty bad that year. But I learned so much from him. And like I say, I feel blessed that as I look back, that I had so many people that was involved in my life and other coaches that mentored me and told me, helped me along the way with things. My assistant coaches, I had great assistant coaches there where I coached. I had great assistant coaches because I pretty much handpicked my own assistant coaches and I had great guys. And whether they knew basketball or not, I want them to be a good person. If they were a good person, I'll teach you all the basketball you need to know. And one of my favorite things is, to a lot of people, sometimes I just say, well, I've forgotten more basketball than you'll ever know. I said, that was how I went at it. I had all kind of books. I've read all kind of books and studied, because I've studied Dean and studied all the winning coaches and how they won and the ones that didn't win. I studied them too, because you have to take the good with the bad, the wins with the losses. You have to take those things together. And I watched them, from that standpoint. So that's how, when I look back and smile sometime, or I might look at an award or something and say, that was nice. And I try and take everything out of boxes. I gave a lot of stuff away. I've given so much stuff away to my players. I'll call them most of them, come out of my house and get it before I throw it in the trash. Or my kids not gonna want it when I'm gone. I said, come and get it. It's very important to me that you come and get it.
Coach, we really appreciate hearing about you. We've appreciated talking about everything that you've done and hearing you give the background. Congratulations on a really a great career. I don't think you're done by any stretch. I don't think John believes you're done by any stretch, because you sound like someone who's still connected to the game enough that if somebody, like John said, if somebody from Eastern Shore called you up, you probably would consider it. I'm guessing you would consider it.
You guys are probably right. I like the water. I like the water.
Yeah. So John, what you have anything to add?
Hey, both of y'all have heard me use an expression where I say, I feel like a kid sitting underneath the oak tree in Salisbury, just soaking all this in and just listening to Coach Hickman tell all this stuff. I like I said, this is great. I have simply enjoyed it. Coach Hickman, you're simply one of the best, my friend, not only as a coach, but as an educator and as a man and as a human being. You are simply one of the best. And I wish you nothing but the best. This has just been an absolute honor and a treasure to have you come on to Daily Deuce. We greatly appreciate it. We hope everybody has enjoyed this today. There's so much more we probably did not talk about. We apologize. We didn't get everything. Maybe we can get Coach Hickman to come back and talk to us more. And I again feel like a pig in slop in Salisbury. So with that being said, thank everybody. Have a great week. Have some fun and watch some sports.
Hey, Gary and John, I'm very humble. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, come back and see us.
Okay, sure thing.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye.